Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Madness Entertainment Group presents the Madness Comic Network with original programming and additional comic-related content.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Silver Sunday on this Sunday, April 24th. How y'all doing?
24th.
Good.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
good. Good night.
What's today? Huh? What? Huh?
Pete's like, is it the 24th? Really?
I'm looking at it thinking, no, it's 25th, but on Monday morning, so that's why I was confused. You'd think after all this time I'd have got to grips with it, but no.
He can see into the future.
He's living in the future. All right. So let's see here. Okay. So first off, sorry about last week. I did not realize when we scheduled this initially that it was Easter Sunday. And then I was reminded before we did it that, hey, Roland, it's Easter. I'm like, it is Easter. We probably ought not have a stream. And so I didn't have a chance to get anything together. Everybody was like, do a rerun, but I didn't have a chance to put that together. So we just didn't show up. So if you were here looking for us last week, I do apologize.
We had a holiday. We're allowed.
It was a holiday, yes. We were Eastering, so we'll still get to talk about our taxes and comic books today. Should be pretty interesting. So we'll have some different points of view and find out how they do it over in the UK, and probably make all of us mad that it's done differently here because it's so complicated. It seems so complicated sometimes. So, but anyway, so how's everybody been?
Good.
Been 2 weeks since we've been here. Pete,
Hello.
Pete, something's changed. I can tell. I can see it in Pete's eyes.
Oh, yeah?
Something. I don't know what it is. What's different, Pete?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, we got married, didn't I?
We got married.
Congratulations, Pete.
Congratulations.
Did that, yeah.
Yay!
She turned up.
How's the missus?
Yeah, she's very uncomfortable at the moment. She's got 4 weeks to go, so
Yeah.
She's starting to worry about actually having to give birth now.
He's just gonna carry it around forever.
You have to do this. I said, yeah, you have to. Yeah, got no choice. Too late now. Can't back out now.
Yeah.
So she's all right. She's fine.
Yeah.
All the baby stuff has arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still
Can't
spending
move.
a lot of money that you'll never use.
Well,
Guess you kept up on your
we've been very
sleep, huh?
lucky. People have bought loads of stuff for us, but it's just you can't move in the house now for stuff.
Yeah. So one thing, let me highly recommend. Okay. I don't know what they're called, but they make these slings, shoulder holster things.
Already got one.
Good. You will
Already
love
got
it.
one.
Because,
In pink.
well, the colors, it's just a color.
Yeah.
But you're gonna love it because you'll be able to put your baby here and almost navigate normally. You hold your baby here and you still draw. When our kids got a little bit older, old enough to like hold up their heads and stuff, we got a little backpack thing. And so literally I would put them in the backpack, put them over my shoulders, and we just go do stuff. Of course, they'd all, they'd always be grabbing on my hair and pulling my hair and everything. And, you end up with a big slobber spot right here. Then you're like, why is the back of my hair all sticking together? But I will say this, it made a world of because it's hard to carry one around in your arms and try to do stuff, right?
Yeah.
So if you can kind of free up your arms, it makes a world of difference. So
Yeah, got one of those, fortunately.
good.
Yeah. I look good in it. Yeah. So yeah.
So how are you doing? You getting nervous?
Oh, I've got no idea what I'm going to do, so that's not changed. Just soldier on, figure it out.
Yep. Yeah. The thing about it is, you'll hear, and of course, you'll probably get into circles. You'll hear everyone will have advice for you, right? Here's what you got to do. Here's what you got to do. Here's what you got to do. The bottom line is this, depending on, what version of history you believe, regardless, people have been doing this for thousands of years. So, you can figure it out.
Okay, I assume you do them over there as well. You do antenatal classes before the baby's born?
Yeah, we don't call them that, but yeah.
Yeah. So we call them antenatal classes. But we had our first one last week, and the midwife who runs it said, "Oh, so what are our preconceptions of birth?" And I said, "Oh, well, I know it's going to be painful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know that." And she goes, "Oh," and everyone goes, "Oh, no, you can't look at it like that. You got to have positive thoughts." And I was like, No, you're deluding yourselves. The only thing I know, it really, really hurts.
Yeah.
Don't go in there and then get a surprise. It's gonna hurt.
So do you watch Call the Midwife, the TV show?
Of course.
Yeah.
Love
So
it.
my wife and I, we like that show. And we were talking the other day, and I asked her, I said, so were you scared? And she said, yeah, a little bit, particularly for the first one, right? And she said, yeah. And then she said, and it was painful. And she said, but here was the but. She said, she was, I'm not ever going to tell anyone it's not painful because it is. She said, but the funny thing is, once the baby was born and I saw the baby, she's like, I just forgot all the pain. It's like, there's the baby and this, I'm holding it. And then she said, I just forgot all the pain. But she said, yes, it was painful.
Don't pretend otherwise. It's gonna
right,
hurt.
Exactly.
And then until these. Okay, go.
By the way, Zilla McDummy and Bike Rider putting you all on Facebook. Thank you so much, Screw Loose. Appreciate you sharing us there in Mississippi.
As I was saying, the last thing I say, Alex, it gets boring, but they talk about different sort of births, and okay, different. So you have water birth and all these other things. And then a couple of couples go, "Oh, we're going to have a hypnobirth."
What's that?
Like, what the hell's a hypno? But someone hypnotizing you? No,
That sounds crazy.
It's all positive thoughts in the room.
Oh boy.
Have no negative thoughts. Everything's positive. Everything's good. Bunch of hippies.
I was going to ask you, someone going to come in with some incense and say, "Be gone all evil thoughts."
Sorry. Good luck to you.
Yeah, if the incense knocks you out, sounds good.
Yeah.
Look at that. Mickey Clausen says, "Evening. What's up, Mickey?"
Hey, Mickey. What's up? Mickey.
How's it going?
Glad to see you chiming in again. Mickey's still in his moving process, so anxious for him to get settled in so he can. I think he's the Wednesday crew, so I'd like to see him joining the Wednesday crew again.
Cool.
Yeah. So has the baby kicked covers off of Mama yet?
Yeah, she's moving a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
And she's gone south. So
you're saying she?
Oh, you haven't go. Yeah, I told you, didn't
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I
When
don't
did
think you
you
did.
say that?
Curtis knows.
I missed it.
Yeah, but Curtis,
No, you did.
He knows everything.
No, you did.
He mentioned it.
Yeah, because I was going to tell you should name your child Thomasina is what I was going to tell you.
No, well, as soon as the check arrives, we'll be calling her Silverline.
Oh yeah.
Just waiting for that check. A few more weeks for it to arrive. Then we have to do a birth certificate, and then it might be too late.
I think it's in the mail, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a name picked out?
Yeah. I'll tell you when it arrives. Then.
Okay, so you're keeping the secret until then. Okay, cool.
Well, I think everyone knows, but
Oh,
I can surprise some people.
right. Yeah, you'll surprise.
It'll be Little Pete is what you're going to name.
Yeah.
Hammer. Hey, Little Pete.
Petra.
Yeah. So, well, that's good news. Due date is again is when? May 22nd. Okay.
Cool.
So, right at 4 weeks, huh?
Looking forward to 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
Well, it won't be 2 weeks off, but it will be 2 weeks I'd have to go to school.
Yeah.
Oh, they give you all of 2 weeks?
I get 2 weeks paternity leave. I don't know what you get in America. I guess it depends where you are.
Wow.
Yeah, it does.
I've never heard of.
Yeah, they like to not give you much.
Yeah.
What do you get for maternity leave, Roberta?
You get your normal vacation, I think.
Yeah.
How long's that?
I think BJ got 4 weeks.
Yeah, it depends on who you work for. Is what they different places.
Yeah.
Do you know how long Tanya gets? 12 months.
What? No
Very
way.
nice.
Wow.
That's the standard maternity leave in the UK. It's 9 to 12
That's
months.
so staggering.
Wow.
9 of
So what
which
do
are
the
paid.
employers
The last 3
do?
doesn't get paid. The last 3, but
Still, that's
Wow.
amazing.
so it works. So it depends. Obviously, some different companies do it differently. But she works for the government, so they do
That's
3 months.
fantastic.
You get full pay. 3 months you get 90% of your pay.
Wow.
And then the last 3 months, you'll get whatever the statutory government pay is, which is a couple of £100 a week, not a lot. And then the last 3 months after that is nothing.
Wow.
So
Is that to encourage you to come back
Right.
earlier?
Encourage you to come back to work. Yeah.
you have to go back to work. If you don't go back to work, you have to pay it back, but you do go back to work.
Whoa. Okay. So that's a big incentive to go back.
Or you have to go back for work for at least 3 months.
Okay.
To pay. Okay. Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll pay it back. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It doesn't.
So
I've
very different.
never heard of any place over here given that kind of
Men only
time.
get 2 weeks. We only get 2 weeks.
Yeah. Still, 2 weeks would be nice. I would have been. I would have loved to have had 2 weeks off when it happened.
Yeah.
You know, we
So you can write more comics and stuff. That's what you want.
Well, that's what I said. I said 2 weeks. I'm just drawing all the time. Finally, I just get back to doing that full time. No, you have to help.
Oh man.
Well, you know, I
can't
will
feed
say
the
this.
baby. I can't feed the baby. What am I
I
going to
will
do?
say this: your sleep schedule is going to be really, really, really messed up for several months.
I said I might move into the spare room.
Oh boy.
I'm going to live in here.
Just throw a mattress down.
Yeah. You got a bed in here. I can sleep in here.
So we were really lucky. My daughter, my oldest, she started sleeping through the night at about 4 or 5 months, pretty quickly. Roberta and Curtis probably remember. I used to bring her up to the office when we had problems with our. Obviously, we didn't get that kind of leave, but in our daycare, there's something terrible happened. A long story. Something terrible happened with them. So BJ and I would split. You know, she would take her some days, and I would bring her some days. And I would bring her up to the office, and she literally got passed around, particularly all the colorists. All the colorists were like,
You liked her.
they would grab and hold on to her and color. And I would I've got a meeting, and does anybody want to? And everybody was volunteering. I'll watch her. Except Dan Danko. Dan Danko was the only one who would not hold her because he was like, I'm not going to hold her because I'm afraid I'll break her.
Well, you handed her to me, and it was the first baby I ever held, and I was like, I don't understand.
What do I do?
Yeah.
So
you had like a little bassinet right by your desk. I remember, like you would be typing away.
Did you really? Wow, cool.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I will say this: I was very fortunate that that Malibu was like, you know, hey, we understand. Do what you got to do, you know, and it didn't affect my day-to-day, you know, my job. So I had interruptions occasionally, but I could still get all my work done. So Malibu was very good about that. Now I was always very appreciative for that. Yeah. Now Brett, on the other hand, he didn't sleep through the night until he was like 4.
That's rough.
Yeah, they, you know, people. Here's the other thing, Pete. They'll tell you all of them are alike. Just look them in the eye and say, "Bull." It ain't true.
Not buying that.
So, well, that is very exciting. Is anybody else? Curtis, any new kung fu students?
No, not nothing too major over here. I got invited to give a little blurb on Dojo Kun Comics. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but Brian Menard, and so he put me on there, and that was nice, you know. So nice guy, and yeah, good stuff.
Very cool. Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Other than that, same old. Breaking necks, packing checks. So.
How about you, Roberta? Anything new?
Oh, nothing too crazy right now. Same old at the moment. Yeah.
What at the moment? Cold? Did you say cold?
It's the same old, I'm saying, and not too much changed. The past couple of weeks have been kind of chill, which is good.
That is good.
It's actually always very good.
Oh shoot, Tommy.
My day job has its own kind of craziness, but
yeah,
don't go into that.
Anybody want to call out on the stream? No, you know.
Right. Yeah.
No.
One more thing. Let me tell you about this.
Yeah.
Hey, Curtis, do me a favor.
Sure.
Go run through all of our sponsors. I'm going to grab something I picked up from Tommy so I can show it.
Okay, sure. So again, Orlando Collectors Deviants, one of our great sponsors, and also the Daytona Beach Comic Con is coming up very soon, and we're going to have quite a group of people there, including all the way from the UK, Mr. Peter Clinton. Yeah. And so that's coming up on Saturday and Sunday. That's September 10th and September 11th. So make sure to check that out. And also, don't forget our good friends at Kablam Printing.
Kablam!
Yep, good people. So
Kablam. Oh, where's the camera? There's the camera. Kablam!
Yeah. So I think I got just about everybody. Orlando, Daytona, Kablam. Anybody I'm missing? OCD.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to OCD. They are on the road. I think they went to some wrestling con.
I saw them doing a live on the floor kind of a thing.
Yeah. Steve always does those walkthroughs which I always find pretty cool because he holds it up kind of high and you get to see the whole. If you're not able to be there, you get to see the whole thing. So I always find that pretty cool. Roy Airship said, "I just attended my 7-month-old godson nephew's baptism. He peed all over his godmother and smiled." That's funny. So one of the things, this is actually one of Tommy's books here, but one of the things that we've been talking about in our next Kickstarter, which is scheduled for May 5th. Okay, we'll start dropping a bunch of stuff for that soon as we get all the images ready. It's going to be about 70 pages worth because we're going to do 3 books this time.
It's a flip book. Yep. It's 3 books.
And so Tommy, you said this was actually 80 pages, right?
That's an 80-page book, so it won't be that big, but I can make the spine a little flatter than that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So trying to see. So you can see here.
It makes a nice size book, especially with it. So remember when DC used to put out those books that used to have they were still staple, but they had the flat back. Yeah.
So we kicked some terms around, and it's going to be our sci-fi extravaganza. That's going to be fun. We're going to have it'll be Beyond the Stars #1, The Obsoletes #1, and it will be Cray #1 remix. So we're excited for that. Ready to get that started. And if you back the Sirens and Wolf Hunter Kickstarter, those files, you should have gotten an update through Kickstarter. Those files have all been sent off to Kablam, and we're just in the queue now. So everything is moving right along, fine and dandy there, no problems. So we are excited about that. Everything is moving along smoothly. So
I hope to start working on those this week. So.
Sounds good. Excellent. All right. Well, Tommy, what about you? Anything else new?
Just inking a bunch of covers for the Silverline stuff. I'm actually almost done with one of the books that we were just talking about.
Nice.
So
you want to share?
Sure. Let me figure out how to do this. But other than that, Kablam's got getting new presses and stuff. That's kind of cool. So the printing side, everything is going there. We're moving forward. There's still a paper problem across the country, but we're still
any better at all?
No, not any better whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah. No, a lot of the paper that we normally print on, they're saying we may not get any of that this year at all.
Wow.
So,
really?
Yeah. No, it's just it's everything that we're printing on. I mean, you've seen the books, even it's been on the paper. This is more of the paper that we were using before, right? Yeah. So, but we had more of a. It looks great. I mean, the toner is so glossy already, but the paper that we switched to was a little glossier. And but we can't get that paper at all. The only glossy paper we have now is we're using for covers for the regular books. So we can't use up all of that for the interiors because then we won't have. So
then you won't have any covers.
Then we won't have any books. Yeah. And there's we've been hearing from folks that a lot of the other printers, people are just left and right just saying we can't take orders, but we're still rocking and rolling. And like I said, we've got new machines and did you see the one machine?
I did.
And then we got another one.
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say it or not, but
and then a new one. Actually, not this week, but next week they're replacing the other machine, and that's really going pretty good. So other than that, everything's going good. I'm having eye problems, but other than that, everything's going fine.
That's not good.
Yeah. Well, it'll work out.
Yeah. You gonna get that taken care of?
Shortly.
Yeah.
Shortly.
All right.
So,
it's always I know. That's I hate to say this, but that's probably some OLD problems.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Curtis, like what? I never
carried the two. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let me try to share this.
Glasses on,
Steve
glasses
Brown.
off kind of problem.
Right. Steve
Yeah,
Brown says, "Hey, everyone, what's up, Steven?"
that glasses don't help. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. That's how
Well,
it is.
you know what
Good
I
luck.
say to those. You know what I say to those things is that I think we should just be glad that we are living in a day and age
Sure enough.
where we can get these things taken, because you don't have to go back very far to a time where they would just say, well, you know what, that's just life.
You got to live with it.
You got to
Exactly.
live with it. You got to figure it out. So I am ever thankful that we live in a day and age that
Here in the next month, I should not be wearing glasses at all. So if that gives you kind of an idea of what's gonna be going on.
That sounds
So,
great.
that is great. Yeah.
Wow.
I'll be jealous.
Wish I could have that.
Oh man, you and me both. Well, all right. Today's topic is death and taxes. No, not death.
I thought it was death.
I think our viewership just dropped as soon as you said that.
Comics and taxes. So, so what I want to do is we're going to talk about a little bit everything. Obviously, we'll talk about, not just kind of how our systems work personally, but as a comic creator, the kinds of things that you have to deal with personally with your taxes, and then dealing with your taxes. You know what I'm saying? How do you, when you're doing shows, how do you do that? So it'd be interesting to see the different ways. Stephen Brown says, how's it going? We're doing well, Stephen. Thank you for asking. Look at that. Jose Fuentes says, you got this, Tommy. The surgery doesn't
I spoke with him about it a lot, and several other people that have gone through this, and I'm ready. It's going to be a much better thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So all right, so the first thing I want to talk about is how personal taxes, right? We just went through tax season here, and what we have to do yearly, everybody knows, and I'm saying this more for the benefit of Pete, who probably knows a little bit, but every year we have to go through and we have to fill out our forms saying we made this much money, here are the deductions that the government will let us have. And then you decide, or they decide based on all the forms, you either paid too much into the system for taxes and then you get it back, or you didn't pay enough into the system and you have to pay them money. Nobody ever wants to do that. No. But yeah, obviously, when you are a freelancer, when you are a creative type, and it's not just artists, but musicians and actors and people like that have to go through a similar kind of thing as well. Let's see here. Let me see if I can't.
Oh, Dean Zachary pencils. Nice.
Cute.
That's the Beyond the Stars cover.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I love the composition on that one. That's great.
Looks nice.
Yeah. Almost done.
So I've told the story before. You guys have probably heard it. But I'm going to tell it again just because it's funny. When I first started doing comics, I think I've been doing comics for about 2 years, right? And maybe not quite 2 years, right about that time. And I got an assignment from Tom Mason at Malibu to do an adaptation of Philip Wiley's Gladiator. Gladiator, of course, is the acclaimed inspiration for Superman. There are some who say that's not true. I've read the book and I don't see how it's not true. But anyway, it is very Superman-like. And so it's public domain. And so we were going to do an adaptation of the novel in comic book form. Well, keep in mind, this was early 90s, and this was pre-internet, all that kind of stuff, right? And I couldn't find a copy of it because it was out of print. The only copy I could find was $250. Yeah, it was either $250. Yeah, right. I know. And it's like, so I called Tom Mason and I said, the only one I can find, I said, that's a lot of money. And he said, of course, I was fishing, hoping that he would buy it. And he asked me to do the adaptation, right? He said, well, just write it off on your taxes. And I said, what?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. What do you mean? He said, well, just write it off on your taxes. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, you write your comic books off, don't you? I'm like, I write my comic books off on my taxes?
What are you talking about?
What do you mean? He goes, oh, that's all. You get to write that stuff off. I'm like, what do you mean I get to write that stuff off? He said, yeah. He said, he goes, it's all, you're a writer and you make comic books. This is all research for your industry. I'm like, come again? And so he went down this list. Yeah, you can go see movies, you get books, all your comic books. And of course, you know, I like any other comic book guy. I had, you know, probably $7,500 or more a month. I was spending on comics, you know, weekly, not weekly at the end. I was getting at the time, I think I was still getting Westfield. And, you know, so I filled out those forms and sent them money every month. And then I got a big box of comics. And he's like, yeah, you can write that. This is part of what you do. You write that off on your that revolutionized, that blew my mind. And I went back and told my wife, hey, I get to buy more stuff now. She said, what do you mean? I said, I get to write this off on my taxes. And so sure enough, we went through it and I figured out how to do all that. And of course, the very next year, I think I doubled what I'd spent on books and comics the year before because I got to write it off. What people don't tell you is that you still have to come up with the money to buy it.
Yeah, it just means you don't have to pay taxes on that money. Yeah,
right.
Not a deferred payment.
Not sales taxes, but those are taxes that you don't have to. Yeah.
You get not that you don't have to pay tax. You deduct it from your taxes
that you owe. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You still paid for it. You know, you still if you spent, you know, $10,000 worth of comic books a year, you still had to spend $10,000 worth of, but you just didn't have to pay into the
right.
tax.
Well, so what happens, right? Is let's keep the numbers easy because I can't do hard numbers, right? If you make $10,000, that's below the poverty level. But if you make $10,000, and you're gonna, it's an easy number, and you're supposed to pay in $1,000, which would be 10%, $1,000 to the government. Right, the government says, "Oh, you bought $10,000 worth of comics, and this is part of what you made, so you can deduct." You know, I'm just going to make up a number. You can take 30% of that. Oh, $3,000 of that I can deduct. Oh, well now I don't owe any taxes because I only owed $1,000, and now they're not going to give you money that you didn't pay. This is one of the things that some people, I only owed $1,000 in taxes, but I got $3,000 worth of taxes off. Well, they're not going to cut you a check for $2,000 over, and they're not going to pay you taxes, right? But you could ultimately work it down to paying no taxes. And as one who has never made a lot of money, one of the things that I have always been frustrated about is that, and please, I'm not trying to be political here, but one of the things that when someone said, you know, well, Trump didn't pay any taxes one year or something like that, I'm like, you know what? If I had attorneys that I could pay them and figure out how to get out of paying taxes, I would probably do the same thing. Well, I can't afford an attorney to get me out of all of those, so I end up paying taxes.
Well, and I think people forget the logic behind why big businesses are allowed to do that is the idea, whether or not it's justified or not. The idea is that they're creating jobs for other people in the economy. Hence, that's the deduction, right?
Right.
So, it's not just an arbitrary thing, but I'm sure people take advantage of it too. So.
Well, I imagine they do. I imagine there are loopholes all over the place, and that's one of my personal problem. This is a personal problem. This is one of my personal problems with our system of taxes is that I can't afford to pay a lawyer to find all the loopholes for me. You know. Yeah. So I end up every year paying taxes where I know someone who should pay more taxes than me doesn't because they can afford the lawyer that finds all the loopholes.
Yeah.
So, So
yeah, your tax guy helping you out. Yeah, and it's pretty cool because when I remember the first time that I got a 1099, and you were helping me figure out how to fill out all the paperwork. I was still working a full-time job, so I had a W-2 also. But the 1099 is the one that lets you fill out the Schedule C, where you can put in all of your deductions and this different than your standard deductible, that you get from just being just the regular person.
Right.
But you can write off other stuff, and it's like you were like, you can write off this and that and this and this, and you don't have to pay taxes on this and this and this, or you can you don't have to pay. I think we went over what we're talking about. You still pay taxes, but you gotta, you pay less taxes. But yeah, and it was like, oh my goodness, this is so.
Oh no, he froze. Oh, on a cliffhanger, he froze on a cliffhanger. Oh my goodness, this is so.
But then you figure out stuff.
Oh, there you're back.
Yeah, it disappeared there. Now I'm back.
Yeah.
But
oh my gosh, this is so.
So weird is what I was going to say. Yeah, but figuring out that you can write off all this stuff, and then you write off all your art supplies and everything that because you go working for somebody else where you get a W-2 where it's and you get your standard deductible stuff on your tax forms, and then all of a sudden you get a 1099 where it's like everything that was involved with your making that money, you can write off, even to the point, we're talking about loopholes, even to the point where it can go negative. So if you had a W-2, now we're talking about it can affect your money that you were going to get back normally if you had a real job, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So you can make it so that money, you get more of that money back.
Yep.
And it's just so messed up how it all works out. But
yeah.
But
that goes back to the idea that you kind of got to know, you either got to pay somebody to do it, right? Or you kind of got to know how to do all the Schedule C stuff,
Did my screen get lost?
It did.
Yeah,
your screen
let me try to hear it again.
Off. Yeah. So, and I'm saying this for the benefit of Pete, right? So with our personal taxes and sales taxes, right? The federal government taxes people, right? You make money, and your money, the federal government takes a piece of. Well, there are also sales taxes, right? So if you go to Walmart down here, locally, you're going to get a receipt. You're going to see a tax. Part of that tax, there's a federal tax, there's a state tax, and then there's a local tax, right? So everybody gets a little piece of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
But the personal tax is only paid to the federal government, and many states have a state tax on your personal income. Fortunately, Florida is not one of those. So we don't have to do a report on personal taxes in Florida, which is really nice.
That is good.
Yeah.
Florida, you don't pay tax, or you don't pay sales tax.
We don't pay.
We have sales tax. Yeah, we don't have. We don't have.
Well, because you have federal tax and not state tax.
Correct.
And there's other states too that.
Why are you paying tax twice?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, it is a good question, but it is to two different places, right? So.
Right.
It's not to two different places.
Well, no, it actually is, right? So if you
live,
in California, for instance, okay, when you fill, let's stick with you made $10,000, right? The federal government's going to take 1,000, and the state's going to take 250. Right? The state's like, hey, you made this money because you live in California. You're going to pay $250 of that to the state of California, right? And then the federal government is going to take the larger portion that goes to Washington, D.C. So it actually is two different places. But there's a couple of states, and I can only think of two, probably because I live in the South, but Tennessee and Florida are the only two that I know of that that don't have state taxes. I'm sorry, personal state taxes, because they get all their funds through sales tax.
Okay. Is the sales tax high or is it reasonable?
That's for me. It's reasonable here.
Okay.
It's mostly because of the amusement and that kind of stuff that's going on. It's they get such a big flux of other people pumping money into the state. Yeah.
So many tourists come down here and spend a lot of money, so there's a lot of sales tax generated
that makes sense.
through tourism, right?
One of the things, yeah.
Wubba says, "Hola, everybody! What's up, Wubba?"
Hey, what's up, Wubba?
Hey, Wubba.
Says, "Oh, Texas doesn't either. I did not know that. So Texas doesn't have."
I was going to say that. Yeah, I was waiting to get to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm sure there's probably a couple of others, but I don't know them off the top of my head. But yeah, so when you live in those states, you don't have to file a state income tax. You don't have to pay. I don't know if you have to file. Some of them want you to file still, but I don't know why. But you don't have to pay anything. So, so yeah, that's nice.
Definitely.
So all right. So before we get the other kind of taxes, how does it work over there, Pete? How do you pay your taxes?
Well, there's employed tax and then self-employed tax.
Okay.
So employed tax, i.e. if you work for someone. So I work for the school.
Right.
My tax is deducted before I even get my money every month.
So your employer pays that to the government.
Yeah. So they pay it, and they pay national insurance tax as well. So there's two different things. You get income tax, so tax on your income, which I don't know where that goes. National insurance, which is minimal. It's not a lot of your money. Well, it's compared to income tax, it's really small. But it's meant to pay for your pension and your state pension and things like that. It's not a lot. That gets deducted, and that's based on it depends on how much you earn. So, but if you earn less than, I can't remember now, I think it's between 10 and 15,000 a year, you don't pay tax.
Yeah.
And
you call that the poverty level?
We don't refer it to as that. No. Just low income.
Low income. Yeah. Over here, to jump in real quick, it used to be 12,000. I don't know what it is now, but I know at one point in time it used to be 12,000. If you made 12,000 or less, that was considered poverty level, and so you didn't have to pay any taxes at all.
Yeah. Yes, it's effectively the same thing.
Yeah.
Then I think if you earn up to 50,000, you pay 20%, and then over that, I can't remember what it goes to because sadly I don't earn over that much. Yeah. So anyway, there's that, and then there's the banding's the same for self-employed. You just have to file your own tax return like you do every year. You can do it yourself, or you can get an accountant to do it. And it's just made up of you can write off the same things you can write off.
Yeah.
It's effectively the same thing. We just don't pay tax twice. Our sales tax is already done. We pay VAT, value added tax. So everything that's sold in the UK, if it's a physical thing,
it's already got the tax already included in it.
Yeah. So it's for the UK, I think it's 17.5%. And sometimes it's a bit higher, a bit less, depending on what it is. Some things don't have VAT on it. If it's classified as an essential item, like I think they changed it for tampons. That's seen as, they shouldn't be charging on something that women need. Essentially, they can't not have those. So I think they lifted it on that. Odd enough, biscuits get quite high tax on those, I think. That's why you heard Jaffa cakes. They're like little chocolate things with orange like jelly.
I've heard of them.
I have not.
Right, so they've been fighting for years to get classified as a cake, not a biscuit.
Oh,
they pay high tax.
Really?
But that way they can have less tax.
Yeah, they get lower. They get taxed less. So they've been fighting for years to get to be.
Well, so let me ask you a question then. So when you go, let's say, because you live in the London area, right?
Yep.
So let's say you run down to the corner store and buy a Jesser cake. What'd you call it?
Jeffer cake.
Jeffer, like Jeffer.
Jaffa. Jaffa.
Jeffer cake. Okay, so you buy a Jaffer cake. Let's say it's $3. So it's $3. So is that $3 exactly what you give, or is it $3 plus the value?
No, we don't add that at the till. No, it's already added. It's already added. In the price.
Okay.
That's something that we have to get used to when we come to America. We have to get to the till, and then remember you add tax when you're checking out.
Yeah. So
what you're actually paying when it says, biscuits $2.50. It's not $2.50. It's $2.50. Then you have to add the tax on top. I have no idea what your tax rates are when you get to the States. I was like,
and it's different depending on the county.
Yeah. So I know, like, the county that I live in, everything added here. I live in Seminole County. Everything is 7%, right? So you go and you buy something, you're going to add 7% to that, no matter what it is, right? Now you go to Mississippi, and it may be 6.5%. You go right next door to Alabama, and it might be 5%. Georgia, I think I read Atlanta somewhere, they are like up around 10% now, I think. Hotels, tourism will often have additional higher taxes because they're hotels. I don't know if this same way happens here in Florida, but I know in some places when you go to a hotel, it's a higher tax because of that.
Definitely.
And I don't know enough about it to know what causes what. I know that I have to look it up. Well, actually, because Silverline has to pay. Now we have to pay taxes. Oh, I have this thing here. Silverline now has to pay taxes, like whenever we do our Kickstarters and stuff like that. I literally have a common sales tax bracket is what this thing is called. And you can see here, it's 6%, 6.5%, 7%, 7.5%, 8%, and 8.5%. Those are here you go. And here are the taxes as they are for every county, right? So I look at Alachua. They have a surtax rate of 1%. Seminole is 1%, which is where we are. Hillsborough is 1.5%. So all of these are in Florida now, right? These are all Florida counties. I guess it's all 1%, 1.5%. Oh, there's none. Citrus County has none. I don't know where that is. But see, these are all determined by the county. The county is who determines these rates, not the state, not the federal government. The county has to go in and do that. But when it's all said and done, you have the one amount that generally doesn't equal more than 10 or 12% generally. So when you give numbers over there like 20%, I'm like, dang, that's high.
We have limited. Obviously, if you're set up as an individual, you pay certain. If you're set up as a company, like Silverline will be, so you pay different tax. You pay corporation taxes, and
right.
I don't know what they are.
Yeah, I'm learning.
And if you're Amazon or Starbucks, you don't have to pay tax.
Really?
No, they just don't pay tax.
Oh, well, okay. So that goes back to the fact that they've got these expensive lawyers, and they know how to get out of. They know the loopholes.
Technically, I think what they do is they set themselves up as offshore, so they're set up in somewhere else.
Yeah.
So they don't pay UK tax. It's legit.
That's interesting. I wonder if that's why we have the sales tax here in order to combat that, so people don't go and set,
they don't pay tax on their profits.
Yeah.
So they may make X amount of billions in the UK, but because they're technically they're an offshore company, they have to pay tax in where they're based. And if where they're based is not a tax place, they don't pay tax there, then they don't have to pay tax. What they tend to do to avoid too much scrutiny is just give an amount to the government. Like, so here's some money, go away, move alone.
Yeah.
That is genuinely what they do. They might give them a few million, and that'll be like, there you go. Here's some. We don't have to pay you, but we're going to give you a few million, okay? So, right.
It's so in other words, it's kind of like make you feel good money.
Yeah, it's don't ask.
It's money is what it is.
We're going to pay you something, just because it avoids you looking too hard and kicking up a fuss.
Yeah. So one of the things, right, that we talked about, everything we've kind of talked about so far is deductions, right? You can go buy comics, you can deduct the what you spend there, you can watch movies, deduct that, right? So what about the things that you sell, right? So when you go to a convention,
Tommy,
your places, you're messed up, aren't you? You really are messed up. There's some places you have to register before you can sell anything, and some places will come around and check you when you're there for some licenses.
Yeah,
man, anyone does that to me, no. I'm offshore. I'm an offshore company. I'm the Amazon of convention goers.
Yeah.
Here's $20. Go away.
Just give him a free copy of a book,
Yeah.
A comic book. Yeah. So this is one of the things that happens a lot, right? So well, I won't give any names, but so I talked to some veteran artists, and one of the things that kind of spurred this conversation was the whole digital versus traditional thing, right? Tommy and I talk about this fairly frequently. Is that, one of the things that digital does, and I love digital, don't get me wrong, but one of the things digital does is it takes away an original piece of art. Right. So when you work on your artwork digitally, it's of course somebody might chime in and say NFTs. Well, we haven't figured that out. I haven't figured that out yet. So
no, not yet.
But there's
still
no
on it.
Yeah, they're still working on it. And you know what? I saw someone post on Twitter that I can't believe Rob Liefeld is doing this. And I'm sitting there thinking, if I understood it, I might do it. I don't quite get it yet, so I'm not opposed to it.
Can you tell me the website or the link that you're paying for?
Sorry.
That's okay. I thought somebody's asking a question.
No. There, I'll do that.
Sounds like somebody's in trouble.
I thought someone was asking about a website, is what it sounded like. So, but when I get from these artists, right, it's like, I'm going to continue to do original art or traditional art, I should say, because even digital art is original. But I'm going to continue to do traditionally because I have original art to sell, right? And the example is this, right? Let's say DC hires you to draw Superman, right? You're going to have a page rate that DC and you will have agreed to. Or DC will tell you this is the page rate, and you'll say okay, and so you'll do it. You'll submit your pages, and they'll pay you a page rate. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that the overwhelming majority of those agreements with DC, those are actually advance on royalties, right? Which the book company the book publishing company is set up that way too. It's just that in comics, they transferred a flat rate into a page rate. So, for instance, an author might write a novel, and the publisher will say, "Hey, here's $3,000 for your novel because we think we're going to sell, $3,100 worth, because your royalty percentage is this, and we think we'll sell enough copies to pay you this royalty," right? Page rates operate the same way at Marvel and DC. You have a royalty rate, but they pay you a page rate that is equal to the advance. So
it's a non-return advance.
It is a non-returnable advance on royalties. Yes, and I think that's exactly the way it's worded: a non-returnable advance on royalties. So if your comic, and I'm going to make up a number here. Let's say your royalty rate at Marvel is 3%. And because let's just keep numbers even, because I can't do math. I'm not suggesting this. So you do 22 pages and you've got $100 a page. And so that's $2,200, right? Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So at your 3% royalty, let's say the book sells and then you would earn $2,000. Well, they paid you more than your royalties actually earned. But you don't refund the money. You keep it because they lost the money on it. Okay. But let's say your comic sells and your royalty would have earned $2,500. Well, they've already paid you $2,200 for the work. So you're going to get a royalty check for $300, right? Yeah. So that's the advance on royalties. So all that to say, I don't know how I got off on that. All that to say is that you get paid for doing the original art, right? For the company. Artists get their artwork back. Well, today artists that never even leaves their hands because it's all scanned and everything. But back in the day, right, it all came in FedEx boxes, and then we would scan them and do what we needed to, and a couple of months later we would divvy them up and send them back out to the artist. Artists would then take those and take them to conventions and sell them. Now, obviously, not all artist artwork sells the same. If you're, Jim Lee, your pages are going to go for ungodly amounts. And if you're, somebody who hasn't, someone who hasn't done very many books, and you may have a hard time selling your pages for $20 a piece.
Pete, we can get way more than $20 a piece.
Well, that's not a comment on quality of art. It's a comment on supply and demand, right? That there's not a big demand. Everybody wants a Jim Lee page. How many people want to? Well, let's just use me for example. Nobody wants a Roland Mann page, right? So I could have a stack of pages for $5 a pop, and no one would buy them, right? The point, though, is without the original art there, I wouldn't have it. If it was only digital, I wouldn't have the original to sell. Okay, that was a really long-winded way to say, when you're at a convention and you sell your pages, do you collect taxes?
Are you supposed to collect taxes? Are you supposed to pay taxes?
Those are two different questions.
Taxman wants their money.
That's the answer to it is yes. Now, if you charge more just to pay the tax part, or you pretend like you're $100 a page and you're charging whatever the 7% for taxes or whatever. Yeah, it's whatever, one way or the other, whatever. But the answer is you're supposed to.
You are supposed to. Yes.
You are supposed to.
So everyone who listens to this who wonders, when you sell your stuff at a convention, you are supposed to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Well, and
so it's income. It is taxable income. Yeah.
Yeah. And as Pete noted earlier, there are some conventions and some states that will come around and say,
they sure will.
Here's your form to fill out. You need to tell us how much you sold, and you need to pay us taxes on that.
Yeah, or they'll say at the end of the day, you know, here, yeah, like you're saying, here's the form. Come by. You don't have an option. Even if it's a 0 day, you know, say you didn't make anything, you're supposed to go by and turn that paperwork in to say I made nothing.
Yep.
You know, and they're going to look at you and go, yeah, right. Sure, you made nothing.
I will say this. We mentioned Tennessee earlier. Tennessee is one of those states that doesn't have a personal sales tax. They will come at you at the conventions because they don't have the personal sales, the personal income taxes. They're coming after everybody who's selling stuff for the sales tax. So they are coming after you. If you're at a convention there, they will come by and make sure you got the paperwork, and they're going to check on you and make sure you pay your taxes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've been to many of shows where that's the case. Yeah. You got to come up with something. So
here's your $20. Go away.
I don't have to pay you nothing.
Yeah, I have half a corn dog I bought at the food stand over there. Help yourself.
That's what you need. That's what we need to do, right? Have a balance sheet. Okay, I paid $100 for the table. I paid $14 for a corn dog, $5 for a Coke. I sold $20 worth of comics. Hey, you owe me money.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's like there's always like little shops that I'll go to, or even like local restaurants, and they'll be like cash only, or they'll be like, this is the price for a card, but if you pay us in cash, it's a little bit less. Well, it's because you know why, right? You know?
You don't know why. You don't know why when you're young, because you're just thinking, why are they doing that? I want to use mom and dad's card, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So one of my very first jobs, I worked at a bait shop, right? I used to be there at 4 o'clock in the morning. I would dip minnows and pump gas and sell people earthworms so they could go fishing. I worked there for about 2 years. I had no idea until much later that I was paid off the books. Because the guy, on Sundays, the guy would just he would say, "Bring me your timesheet." And he would just hand me cash. He'd say, okay, you worked this many hours. Here's how much I owe you. And he'd just hand me cash. Now, when you're 16, 17, you're like, yeah, I got this cash. I wasn't thinking a thing about it. I didn't know, right? I just took the cash. I got paid that way when I mowed the grass. You know, my sister was a baby. She babysat a lot. She got paid in cash when she babysat. It wasn't a big deal to me, right? It wasn't until later I realized, hey, that guy was paying me in cash.
You imagine your babysitter comes back to you like, I'd like my
my 1099 or whatever. Yeah.
Time.
Yeah. That was pretty interesting. But yeah, I would stick the big wad of cash in my wallet, and I would head home and I don't know if I've said this before. I would always stop at the 7-Eleven, buy me a Coke, Snicker bar, and some comic books, and a dollar's worth of quarters, and I would play the asteroid game while I sit there and ate my Snicker bar and drank my Coke, and once my dollar was gone, that was it, right? I would feed the machine $1. Once my dollar was gone, I'd take my comics and go home.
That's great. I do the same thing, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Very cool.
So how many people do you think collect in let's just use and I'm not putting any of you guys on the spot at all. How many people do you think collect taxes? How many freelancers and creators, comic book makers, do you think collect taxes at comic shows? Tommy says 0. 6?
No, Tommy did this. I was like, 6.
Oh, 6.
0.
Pete?
No, I don't know why you would.
Roberta, you want to guess? Roberta's like, I can't believe it.
I'm gonna say no. But you never know.
Unless someone comes around with a piece of paper, like you say, and say, right, let's see it. I don't think anyone's going to. It's cash. It's cash. How are they going to know?
You know.
Well, I mean, how much of it's? Yeah, I don't know if you've been to many shows lately. How much cash are you actually doing at shows lately?
Well, this is a problem with that, actually.
Yeah, it's all been Venmo and PayPal and credit card
I can't
transactions.
do any of that in the US. Because
What?
it's tax. You have to have a tax number or
Mhm.
whatever you call it.
Yeah,
Social
that's true.
security number.
What do you mean you can't? You can't do that. You can't accept a PayPal.
I can't take card payments. I can take PayPal, PayPal to the UK, but I can't take card payments.
What? So okay. So let's put a break on that there. Why not? And let me ask you why not? Because it would seem to me like we have
like Venmo,
Square,
and Square.
Up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got some up, but the agreement doesn't extend to the US. The US doesn't allow it.
Could you get a Square Up, or do you know?
I don't know. Anything I've looked into seems to indicate that in the US it's not allowed. You can't take payments in the US if you don't have a social security or anything like that.
Well, so Pete, when you come in September and you do some sales, I'll do your transactions for you for 15%.
That's fine. As long as you're declaring that in your income tax forms, that's
15%.
Well, the self-employment tax is 15% too, by the way, which sucks.
Oh yeah.
I think Sid, she's South American.
Right.
I think she has the same problem. She can't take card payments in the US.
Really?
The US is not friendly to overseas artists.
So if you want to do a commission for somebody from somebody here in the States wanted to pay you to draw something, they could just PayPal you the money, right?
PayPal, yeah. PayPal or
So PayPal really
cash.
covers. It knows enough about your transaction.
Yeah.
To
Well, I know
convert
that
the laws. Yeah.
I know that usually, so like Pete and Alex Sarabia. Well, Pete's in the UK. Alex is in Mexico. Actually, Sid is down in
Chile.
Yeah. Usually, what happens is, like, if I'm going to PayPal the money, it'll ask me, do I want to send it in dollars or in, like for Pete, it was in pounds.
Yeah.
I will never make the assumption. I think if Pete, you remember, I said, hey, here are my options. What do you want? Because I don't know the first thing about
an envelope with a bunch of cash in it. That's what people.
Unmarked bills.
You back up a truck full of cash and just unload it. Thank you.
So Alex, and I mean, I don't know if I should say this. He said he wanted his in dollars because he said
it's stronger currency.
Right. Yeah, he said it was. Yep. So
I want to be paid in Bitcoin.
Yeah. So that's always that's always a consideration. So PayPal. So you can't take Square Up.
I do have a US PayPal.
Okay.
But I was just having to transfer it back to the UK anyway, so I was end up paying more fees than it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
And then I started getting letters from inland revenue. I'm just going to.
I bet.
I'll just get rid of this.
You started getting letters from.
Who gave you letters?
Yeah, you start getting letters from who?
My bank. I had a US bank account, and they started writing me letters about stuff, and then even on US PayPal, it was flagging stuff up, and I was like, oh, if it was large transactions, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna not use this.
Oh, really?
I don't want to get involved in the American government. I don't want them writing.
Yeah, none of us want to either. So what was it saying that you owed taxes?
And if anyone from the American government's watching, I've never made $1 in the US. I'll go on record.
Awesome.
In fact, I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I'm just going to shut up.
So Pete, is it a require if you do a show over in the UK? Is it required there as well that you collect taxes? No. But you have to report what you make, right? You're supposed to.
Of course I do.
Yeah. I didn't ask you if you did. I said you're supposed to.
It's just trying to. I've got two governments coming at me now. Yes, of course, I'm every penny.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people like to get cash over here is because if you sell a piece of artwork for, $50 and they hand you cash, you can stick that in your pocket. But when they pay you with a credit card, there's
paperwork.
There's paperwork.
Yeah.
Right?
Paper trail.
There's a paper trail, and the government says, "Well, what's this $50 for? Why did John Doe give you $50?" Well,
it's a friend.
Yeah,
it was a bet. It was a bet. I bought lunch. He paid me back. What do you want? Get off my back.
That sounds like dinner. Yeah.
That was it. Yeah, that was his half a dinner.
It's not our fault that we make as much as a dinner.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yeah.
I think what the question that you keep the way that you're asking it is like, do you charge the sales tax on when somebody buys something from you? The whatever amount that you charge is supposed to already, you have to pay the tax on.
Right.
Yeah. So,
It will be theoretically it's calculated on how much you make. So let's just say if you make $20, well let me pull my little sheet back out right here, right? So if you make $20 and your sales tax bracket is 6%, then you should pay 60 cents, $1.20 of taxes.
Awesome.
Right?
Well, it's counted as income. So
Right.
whatever your sales, whatever your tax bracket that you're in at the end of the year, that's counted as income, regardless of where it came from.
Well, no, hold on now. So those are two. So those are two different things. Remember, you're talking about income for your personal tax, and I'm talking about sales tax for selling something.
Yeah, that's a very different thing.
Yeah.
Well, you're like. Yeah, but I mean, you still got to come up with how much you're still going to pay. I'm trying to get myself into it. Yeah, I'm not saying anything. I don't make any. I'm like Pete. I don't make any money at show.
So this discussion is not about any of us.
Those other people.
Any of you government people listening, it's not about any of us. We're talking about the things that you're supposed to do and how taxes are handled and all that kind of stuff, right? We all, of course, pay all of our taxes as we should because we're poor comic book artists, and we can't afford to take the risk.
Yes. And this live stream is purely informational. None of us are certified public accountants.
That's right.
You are right. It's there is the sales tax part of it, but then there's also the income tax part of it too.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're at a convention, let's say you're at MegaCon, right? MegaCon is in Orlando, Florida. You sell $100 worth of stuff at MegaCon. You're supposed to pay that's in Orange County, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, you got Orange County sales taxes. What'd you say, Curtis?
I thought you were talking about WonderCon in our Orange County, but you're talking about your Orange County. So sorry. About
that.
Yeah, that's right. Does sound like that.
Yeah.
No, Orange County, Florida. Sorry. So you sell $100 worth of stuff, right? You're supposed to pay taxes because you sold stuff. You're supposed to pay taxes to the county and the state, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's your sales tax. Now you take home what's left, right?
Yep.
But you got to, at the end of the year, you've got to report that $100 as income.
Yep.
And that's what goes as part of your income tax. Now, they'll probably say, usually there's a form, hey, I made $100, but I paid you, what did I say, $1.20? That was $10.
$1.20.
Yeah. Well, let's just stick with $1.20. But I paid you $1.20. So they'll say, okay, well, you got credit for paying me $1.20, but you really owe me $4.20. So you got to pay $3 extra, right? Mm-hmm. So if you collect that as taxes, then you get to report it that you paid it, but you still have to, they're going to get their money, right?
Yeah.
So, and I am with all of you. I think the overwhelming majority of people at comic book conventions, I think this goes to comic book dealers as well. When's the last time you went to a comic book dealer and he said this comic is $10, and he said, oh, that's $10.07.
Yeah, I'm assuming that he's already figured out taxes in it.
Well, yeah. I asked for a receipt because I'm going to write it off for my business, and I get to how many times they go, "Oh, receipt? I don't happen to have that on me." That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've asked people to write it down before.
Yeah,
I was like, "Will you write it down?" Because I'm like you, Curtis. I'm like, look, if I'm spending $20 at your table, I'm going to need this $20 at the end of the year to write off on my taxes.
Exactly.
Again, I don't make that much money. I really need to take advantage of everything I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. That's why I just want to pull out a laptop with like an Excel spreadsheet and a printer and just like type out the invoice right here. Sign. Right here.
Sign this, please. Thank you.
I used to carry when I went to conventions, I used to carry a little receipt booklet.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart. That's a good idea.
In case anyone ever asked for a receipt, I would have it. Now, the cool thing about it is if they pay with a credit card, right? We use the Square Up.
Mm-hmm.
It will ask them, "Do you want a receipt?" And they have to either say yes and give an email address, or they have to decline it. And I literally will hold my tablet, because I'll try to take my tablet up with me, right? I will hold my tablet up to them and say, you need to put in your email address, or you need to select no.
Yeah. And that's a great it's a great service too, because they calculate everything. You can put your sales tax onto the tablet, so it just automatically calculates it. And then of course by the end of the year you can print the report. So it's a great service.
Maybe that's why I can't do it, because I can't do sales tax. Obviously I wouldn't pay the sales tax. I'll collect it and then give it to them.
Yeah, I know it's like the sales tax of where you're conducting business.
Yes.
So you can set it depending. But yeah, I'm not too sure the logistics of it internationally. Of course, I know, like you said, PayPal is the way to go.
Well, so I know this, right?
I collect money in the US.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, so if Pete were to come to a US show, right, and if Pete were to sell something. Legally, he would be.
But he's not. We've already.
No, he would not do that, right? But if that were to happen, he would be expected to collect sales tax, and because he has sold items in that location, right, in that county, in that state, he would be expected to collect the sales tax there.
Cool.
But he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I talked to part of the economy.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah. I talked with an artist one time who shall remain nameless, and he said that he preferred the cash, and when someone said something to him, he would say, "I prefer cash, but I can take a credit card if that's all you have," because he didn't want to lose the sale, right? Sure. And he said what he would do then at the end of the day, he would pay the taxes when they came around on the credit card sales.
Oh, okay.
So he might say, "Oh, you know what? I collected $500, but only 50 of that was in cash. Was in cards." And so he would pay taxes on the cards because
that's traceable. Yeah,
that's traceable. Yeah. Now we are not advocating that anyone do this.
We are talking way too much about.
Beginning to think this is a bad idea, topic idea.
Yeah, I'm starting to really think the same thing.
So if you get an offshore bank account in Trinidad.
Well, so as Curtis says, this is educational, informational. So really, what I want to do is because I think there are a lot of people who don't realize that if you take, I got a comic book, an old Marvel comic over here, right? If I take it to the show and sell it to someone at the show, that's a sale that I have made, and it's considered income. right?
Yeah.
And so you can, it doesn't matter what you're selling at a show like that. If you're collecting money, that is considered income, and you are legally supposed to do it, supposed to claim that as income. And so I think there's a lot of people who a lot of freelancers who don't realize that. And now I think there's a lot of them who know it and just don't care. But I think there's a lot who really don't know that. Oh, really? I just thought I sold it there. I could pocket the money because it's mine. I drew it, right? I drew it, so I could just sell it. It's like, well, yeah, but as Roby said, you're part of the economy.
Yeah, and you are conducting business, and no matter how you look at it, that's the most important part from the tax standpoint.
That's absolutely right, Roberta, and that's exactly what we should be doing.
That is why they check. And we have no wiggle room in California because it's getting tighter and tighter.
No, totally.
Oh, it's still a really big deal.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah.
You know, just starting in the pandemic, you know, everybody turned to any source they could come up with. And so, you know, especially in California, they're really, or I say even especially in Los Angeles, they want to know who's making money.
Yeah.
Really badly. Yeah.
Because they want their piece of it, right?
They do. And they have this new law that you can have a business tax exemption that you have to file every year. If you forget to file, then you get penalties. You would, but if you file it, you are exempt from all the taxes if you don't make some extraordinary number like $300,000 a year on your creative activities, you know?
Yeah.
So that means you can make quite a bit, you know, and not have to pay taxes if you tell them everything about what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that is, you guys correct me if you think I'm wrong. I do think that is one of the advantages that we have being in the low tax bracket.
Very few.
Is that it does help. We tend to not be being in the lower tax bracket. We get the breaks that the higher tax brackets don't get as often. We don't pay quite the number. And you know, and we get some of those other breaks. This is like the second year in the row. Where's wood? I need to knock on wood. This is like the second year in the row for us, our personal family. We took the minimum medical expense. Before that, we had been, you know, we had enough medical expenses that we added them all up and deducted them that way. We itemized them, right? But this is the second year in a row. We're like, wow. Our expenses didn't equal the minimum. And so, I mean, now that means we've been healthy and yay, right? Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. I'm not complaining. I'm very excited about that. But this was the first time in a long time that we took the standard medical deduction and didn't itemize. So
it's good.
Yeah. We're like I said, we're very, very happy for that. So,
yeah, I'm happy for that. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when you don't pay your taxes? What happens?
Trouble.
Trouble.
You know,
that's not an option here.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't know anyone who's ever done that, and I've never done it, so I don't really know. Ruby Ridge.
I hope it's not terrible.
Yeah.
Ruby Ridge. Those guys didn't pay their taxes, and you saw what happened to them.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. You know, Pete mentioned that. You know, and it's the same over here as well. You know, his employer takes his taxes out before he even sees the money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the same thing happens here, right? I work at Full Sail, and when I get my check, it says, here's how much you should have gotten, but we took this much out, this much out, this much out. We took all these amounts out because of, you know, taxes and Medicare and Medicaid and all this other kind of stuff. And now here's what's left for you. So I don't have a choice. So I don't know how you would not pay your. I didn't know how you would not file. You just wouldn't file.
Yeah. Well, okay, Pete, how does it work over there? So over here, there's several ways that you can get paid, in several forms that you get from whoever it is that's paying you. The two main ones are a W-2. That's like if you were working for Disney, Walmart, blah blah blah. You're actually working for somebody, and they're doing all of the part where they're paying your part of the taxes in, and what is it, the unemployment, all the different stuff that goes in. Now, when you're doing comic book stuff, when you're working for, say, like Malibu or Roland with the Silverline or the other places, we get a 1099, which Roland and them don't pay our taxes. We're supposed to do that ourselves. Yeah. So you're saying that overseas there, how, if you were to work for a place where they're not automatically taking the taxes out, how does that work over there? Because over here you just get a check. Do what?
I have to fill out a W-8.
Yeah.
Certificate of foreign status of beneficial owner for United States tax. I have to do that for Upper Deck. Upper Deck, obviously a US company.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to do that for Dynamite. I did some stuff for Dynamite. I had to fill out a W-8. I don't know what happens to that after I fill it out. It just basically shows I'm a UK citizen, not US.
Interesting.
Well, so here, when at the end, say you're working for Marvel or DC or Malibu or Silverline, and you made $30,000, right, in that year worth of comic book work, and now you have to pay, and you didn't pay your quarterly taxes like you should be doing.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
so
I
would have to declare that income on my tax. My tax form is overseas income.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd have to pay tax on it, which of course I do.
Yes, of course you do. Yes. We pay all of our taxes.
I wish my overseas income was $30,000. I mean, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking 1099s. We looked that up, and it's like you have to pay. What was it? You had to pay them like, I can't remember what it was. I can't remember the exact amount, but I looked and I was like, yeah, nobody made that much money with us. We don't have to do any 1099.
Yeah. Unless you do multiple projects, then one person
right.
Can do it.
Yeah.
But as the person that made the money, you're still supposed to claim it, even though you didn't get a 1099.
Oh, well, see, so here's the other problem with that, Tommy, and I was going to ask you about Kablam. Yeah. That's one of the other questions. So, because of the way Silverline is, right, I actually have to claim that on my personal taxes. Right? So
the business does.
Yes. Yeah, all these, and that's my Schedule C. So my Schedule C, I have a Schedule C that is Silverline, and it's like, this is how much money Silverline brought in, right, through the Kickstarters. This is how much money they all paid out, right? And that has to all be on the Schedule C that me rolling in submits to the government.
Because otherwise you'll have to pay taxes on it if you don't say that you paid that money out. Yeah, because you're responsible for paying taxes on that money.
Yeah. And that's where it would be actually double dipping, or not double dipping, double paying twice. And that's where Barb has been a tremendous help to us through all of this. She's done it. You guys know she's not a tax accountant, but she's an accountant. And so she's like, here's what you do. Here's your form, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, thank you, Barb. So you, Tommy, do you have two Schedule C's? Tommy Inker and Tommy Kablam, right?
No, Tommy Inker. That's a 1099. You still do the Schedule C. Yeah. You still have to fill that out on there. But because we're, even though I a half owner of Kablam, we still pay ourselves as salary employees. So we do have 1099 or the W-2s. So
is your tax rate for the money you pay yourself from a company you own lower than if it was an employee of the company?
No, it's still the same. It's whatever tax bracket that you end in. So when you, like my wife and I, we add it all up, and then you end up in a bracket, and then that's how you figure out how much you got to pay. Yeah, but yeah. So the other money that I make, you still have to fill out on the Schedule C. There's a space in there for other income, and then you just plug it in there. Usually, if it's when you're doing your tax paperwork with all of the this is for everybody that's out there that's listening. When you get it, when you're doing like TurboTax or whatever, and you're plugging in all that stuff, and you pull up a 1099 form, where you're digitally putting it in there, it automatically pulls up a Schedule C.
Yeah,
because that's part of the process.
Yeah,
and then on the Schedule C, it's got all of the places where you can add all that extra stuff, or the other deductions that aren't your standard personal deductions. These are all separate deductions. These are other things, which is kind of neat, and then on the flip side of it, because of Kablam, I still do a Schedule C because of Kablam, because we still get paid, or we still have Kablam makes money.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's a partnership between Barry and I, we still have to split whatever money that Kablam makes, which is generally not much at the end of the year, and if anything, and then that goes on to the Schedule C also. So Schedule C is like the catch-all of everything, of all the other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So for instance, on the Schedule C thing, so one of the things that we have to be very careful of here is, as you guys might know, we find ourselves spending money on stuff for Silverline that is not out of the Silverline cost. It's out of my wallet, right? So Barb keeps the books for Silverline, and she's like, hey, here's how much Silverline has. I'm like, okay, well, let's buy these stickers then, or let's buy these really nifty armbands, right? Wristbands for that, and so she's like, she tells us how much we have and how much we can kind of do this stuff. The other thing is, we've got a subscription to this service right here, StreamYard, right? We pay a monthly fee so that we get all of the bells and whistles that StreamYard allows you to do, that they don't allow you to do with the free service, right?
And that's a tax write-off. Yeah.
What's that?
And that's a tax write-off.
Right. Well, that's but for us in particular, that comes from the Silverline, the money that Silverline makes, right? So here at the house, right, we have two boxes. One's labeled Silverline, and one's like us. It just has a year on it, but like if I run down and have let's say Tommy's going to show me some new printing on a book to talk about what we're going to do on the next printing. I will have lunch with him, and I will write that off as a business expense for Tommy. But Silverline doesn't pay for that, right? That's not something Silverline's going to pay for. But I still paid for it out of my pocket, right? So I put that in the Silverline. I put that in the rolling box, so that when it comes time to do my taxes, I'm like, hey, this was an expense I had that my company didn't pay for, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it can get confusing.
It's very confusing.
Yeah. This ended up being a far more depressing conversation than I thought it would be.
It's not a fun thing.
Well, I did think, well, we'll just talk about, how it works and how you're supposed to pay and, blah, blah, blah. And then Pete says, well, I wish I'd made 30,000. I'm like, yeah, me too. I'm like, man, I wish I'd made so. What am I doing? Why am I making comic books?
Everybody's having an
because
existential
we love
crisis.
it.
Yeah, I know.
That's exactly it.
I think one of the things that Silverline could do because we got a lot of new folks getting into comics and stuff, and maybe we ought to have like a little class to make sure that it's like we're saying that even though the government doesn't necessarily require you to send 1099s, just because people didn't get a 1099 doesn't mean that the $400 or $500 that they got for this project, they're still supposed to put that in their income slot on their Schedule C.
Yeah.
So that's something that we need to make sure that everybody's doing, because regardless of because regardless of them doing it or not, your Silverline has basically told the government that you paid these people money, and the government knows that you were paid. You know, me, say for instance, you paid me money, and if I didn't claim it on my taxes, you know, maybe it'll show up some point or another. But you know, the IRS is really good at letting that keep getting behind, and all of a sudden they go, oh look, 5 years later you didn't pay those taxes, and here's all the penalties that you owe for it. And they are really good at doing that.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and they want their money.
And I think you guys probably know this. I long for the day. I think it would be a great day when Silverline gets to write a whole bunch of 1099s.
That would be.
You know,
because
of what
I asked my tax guy, and he's like, "Nah, you don't need to."
Yeah.
I'm like, really? You said nah?
Yeah, you say, but boy, what kind of a great tax guy are you, boy?
Well, sometimes it does. I do think, though, Tommy, I think it depends on how much it is. I think if it's because it's been a while, but I'm thinking that we didn't have to do. We went through the process, and I think it was $800. That if we didn't pay more than $600. $600.
Probably.
Okay. So so it's like if we pay somebody $600 in the year, we have to do a 1099.
So you have to physically send the person a 1099.
Yes.
Now you told the government that you paid the person that $550 or whatever, because otherwise, if you didn't, Silverline's responsible for paying the taxes on that.
Of course we did.
Yes.
That gap.
No, well, I mean, you had to have, otherwise that you paid the tax. Well, then that would have been nice that you didn't do it, because then that means that you paid the tax. Silverline paid the taxes on.
Yeah, thanks so much. Right.
See, why are we talking about this? We should. This is.
I should hit the stop button. It was.
Let's stop. Let's stop now.
Yeah. Well,
right.
The one thing I thought it was funny though, that it's a different amount that you have to pay as an employer out to freelancers before it's required to do a 1099. It's a higher amount, and there's still a minimum for the freelancer. There's still a minimum that is a different amount that is like, well, if you don't make that much, then you don't have to file it. It is a different amount. A different number.
Okay, if you want to say so.
No, it's in several places.
I've had my run-ins with the IRS.
Have you really? Oh my goodness! Oh, I know.
Well, let's just say this with like Indie Planet. You know, that's part of our thing. Yes. So if you've noticed on your Kablam user page or whatever, and it has whatever books that are up at Indie Planet that are selling. Whatever those sales are, you know darn well we're telling the IRS that we paid you that money. Now we have to physically pay you. So if you left the money at Kablam and we hadn't paid you out yet, of course that's not. But if we actually sent you money, or you that's why we require all your Social Security number and all that kind of stuff for your tax paperwork, because we're not paying your taxes on sales. So you have to that's why on that piece you sure do, and that's why it's got a running total on that front page that says how much money that you've actually been paid out. So
that's extremely helpful to actually have that much work done for you. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So because we're not paying the taxes on money that we gave you, because that's your income.
Yeah.
It stinks.
Yeah. So I do think though, and I could be wrong. I do think though that there is a threshold where you can pay somebody a certain amount of money without having to report that person's name and everything. You just say, "Hey, I spent $50 to have this guy pick up trash."
That's true. No, okay, we're talking about two separate things. So that $50 that I don't have to tell the IRS that I paid you, but if I don't tell the IRS that I paid you that $50, then I have to pay the taxes on it.
It becomes an expense.
That's money that at the end of the year, that's $50 more that I have to pay taxes on.
But it becomes an expense.
Well, on your part, yeah, you can. No, I can't write it off. At the end of the year, somebody's got to. So the IRS wants their money.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're all confused.
Yeah.
So the bottom line today is what have we learned today?
What did we learn, Pete?
Pay your taxes.
Oh, it's a stinking mess, is what it is.
Yeah, it is a mess.
Yeah. And then if you're at a show and they ask you to go around and figure out whatever the state tax is, at least say that you made $20 and go give them a couple of dollars and be done with it.
Yeah. I went to a really, really bad show one time, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it was Tennessee. I won't say the show. And I think I sold all of about 3 comic books.
Yeah.
And ended up with like $20 or something like that. I can't remember. It was not much money. And I was not real happy. So when they came around, I said, I didn't sell a single thing. And they're like, really? All your stuff was giveaway? I said, might as well have been.
Now, do you factor in if you had to pay for the table, do you factor in the cost that's cost?
That's an expense at the end of the year that you get to write off. Yeah.
That is an expense on your part.
Yeah. That's in a different slot. That's that Schedule C. That is just a mess. And all your
TurboTax. Is that what you use, Tommy?
I like it. TurboTax works for me. It's pretty easy.
Well, I used to use Macintax until TurboTax bought them, and now we've used TurboTax ever since. We had 1 year that we asked for some help, but we used TurboTax. So
I tend to, because it's all my. I've been using them forever. I'm not saying that they're any good. I'm not saying that they're bad. I like them a lot, but there's a bunch of them that you can use, and if your taxes are pretty simple, like if you're just working at Walmart or whatever, then you could just jump on the IRS's website and fill out their simple form, and if you're not trying to write off all kind of stuff or trying to figure out your if you're just taking the standard deductible and all that kind of stuff, and you don't have to even do anything. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's really easy. Yeah, and so I think for the non-creative Americans, the people who don't do a lot of stuff like that, you just go and check off the boxes. But like has been noted more than once on the show, we're poor artists. Creative types, and we don't make that much money, so it's like I want to take advantage of every possible deduction I possibly can to save myself some money,
Or you could be like my dad. He's got boxes in his even at the age that he is now. He does this forever, or has been doing it forever. He's got shoe boxes every year. Every receipt that he gets, for everything, he just throws these things in there, and he itemizes everything.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, and if you're that kind of person that can figure out all that stuff, you usually save some money doing it that way. It's like, good gracious, I don't remember how to remember to do all that.
That's what we do. Now you don't have to keep those longer than 7 years though.
No. Yeah. Oh, we're talking about other things we shouldn't talk about.
Yeah. So my dad has a burn pile, and whenever because he lives in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, right? And whenever we want to we have trash that we don't want anyone to see at all, like our taxes, old taxes from 10 years ago. I just take the box up to my dad, and he takes it out and puts it on the burn pile, and
there you go.
burns it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay. What did people learn tonight?
Pay your taxes.
Pay your taxes.
Pay your taxes. Whether you're in the UK or in the US, pay your taxes.
And Pete's going to name his daughter after me, Thomasina. Yay!
Just as soon as the check arrives.
No, golly. You pay taxes on that?
Taxes, right? It's a child tax there.
Tax, yeah. We do get tax relief if you have kids.
Yep,
oh yeah, you do that here too.
Yeah. And what'll happen is you're going to get mad when they move out because you're like, "Where's my tax break?"
Oh, no. Let them move back in. Let them move back in.
Do you get child benefit?
Child what?
Benefit. So if you have kids, the government will subsidise you some cash.
You get per person that lives in your household, you get more of a standard deductible if you're doing that kind of thing. Yeah,
you get a bigger tax break.
Yeah. Right.
We get money.
Yeah, we don't get money.
Yeah, but Pete and them pay 70% of their income that they're making towards the tax guys, so they should get something back.
Pete, I'd be curious, when you were at Cuba, did they do any training on the business side of things? Like they did, so that's good.
For them.
That's a good education. I was curious about that.
Yeah.
Second and third year, you do business.
That's great.
A lot of it's
that's cool.
Billing and invoicing and tax and stuff I didn't have to worry about because I don't pay US tax.
So were you drawing in the corner while they were talking?
I was sitting there doing the same thing. I don't have to pay that. Why are you paying twice? Whose idea was that?
So that's great to hear. I mean, that really says a lot about that place if they have that kind of attention to detail, because that's a huge thing that most people want to do. So that's great.
Yeah, it's like you come out of school and you got no idea how to do anything.
Well,
that
was one of my biggest complaints about my bachelor's degree. I got a degree in creative writing many years ago, and they didn't cover any of that. They didn't cover the business of anything. They just basically here's how you write, here's how you tell a story. Bye.
Go find a job.
Good luck. I didn't have any idea about all. Like I said, Tom Mason's the one who enlightened me about all that stuff, and I've been working for him for couple years, maybe a year and a half. I don't know. I didn't know, they didn't cover submissions and researching possible outlets or none of that stuff. They really needed at least a single semester's business class. And
definitely.
Yeah. So,
excellent.
All right. Well, our clock has kind of reached that time, y'all. So, let's wind down. Curtis, where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Sure. So you can find me two places, and both places have all my social media. It's www.theshadowghost.com, and that's for the comic book. And for my martial arts studio, it's www.tigercrane.net. And we have several new programs for online learning. And so you can go ahead and check that out. We have programs where you can do it live. You can do it live on Zoom, but you can also do recorded sessions. So wherever you are in the world with an internet connection. So check it out.
And on your own time, right?
Exactly.
That's excellent. Fantastic. Roby, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Well, you can look under Facebook and Instagram for Roby Conroy, and you'll find me there. And here on Sunday.
Woot,
so that's it.
Mm-hmm. Tommy, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Just go to infernostudios.com. You can find some links and stuff there, mostly on Facebook, messing around, goofing off. And here on Sunday, I am out in the woods with you, riding bicycles, trying to run off into the ditch and all that kind of stuff.
I like that trail Saturday. That was fun.
That was fun. I've got video for that. I'm gonna put that on YouTube. I got to comment out all the cussing, but
that would be Tommy, not me.
I cussed quite a few times on that trail.
Papa
Don't get our boss killed.
Right. Right.
I worry.
We're like on
about the crocodiles, man.
No snakes or crocodiles on this one.
Yeah, we didn't see any wildlife this time.
No, nope.
I know the snakes were there though. They just were hidden.
Yeah,
it was a very snaky area.
Absolutely. We'll show Pete whenever he comes down.
Yeah. Papa Pete, where can folks find you
on the Google is best. Peter Clinton Art. That's it. Takes you to all my Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and whatever else I'm doing. I don't know. Yeah.
So the next 4 weeks are going to be exciting for you.
Yeah. It's going to be. Yeah.
22nd.
Yeah. See if we make it that far. I'm not sure.
Oh, you will.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess probably the whole place is hot now, right? Is she like everything is hot?
She's in this. She calls it nesting.
Oh yeah.
Mode, which means we're cleaning constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly cleaning and tidying and rearranging and making space.
BJ was hot the last couple of 6 weeks or something like that. I don't remember, but man, she was constantly cranking the air up and freezing me out. And she's like, "I'm hot." I'm like, "No, you're not. It's freezing in here." And yeah, that was something I remember there. Hyper Potato says, "Silverline party time. What's up, Hyper?" All right. Well,
party time, excellent.
And I am Roland. You can find me on all the social medias at Roland Man and some of this man Roland. So look me up there, follow me, like me, share me, all that other kind of stuff. Yes, please don't forget to like, hit, share, and subscribe. Follow on our YouTube and our Twitter, on our Twitch, and our Facebook. All of the places help us grow the numbers and get up there. Don't forget, guys, we've got a Tuesday show that is more geared for those West Coasters. They run 11 p.m. to 1 on the Eastern time, but out on the Pacific Coast, that's still 8 to 10 their time. So if you're out on the Pacific Coast in that area, tune into them on Tuesday night, 8 to 10, 8 to 9:30. Wednesday Whammers will be here this coming Wednesday from 8 o'clock to 9:30. As well. This is not the week we got another couple weeks before we launch, but we're launching in about 2 weeks, our next Kickstarter. So you guys get ready for that. Potato says, I wish my wife would crank up the AC. Well, Hyper, get her pregnant.
Oh, come on. Please didn't say that.
Hyper's good with that. He's okay. Thanks again to Daytona Beach Comic Con. Guys, the last time I counted, I think we were up to like 12 people. Silverline's going to be there this year. Found out that
where are we all going to sit? That's going to be the
thing. Someone else is going to be there that I didn't know that was coming. They said, "Hey, I'm coming. Can I come?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, come on." So yeah, there's a bunch. I need to put that full list together, but there's going to be a bunch. We are going to have a good time. So Daytona Beach Comic Con is September 10th and 11th. Make your plans. If you want comic books in Orlando, Coliseum of Comics on East Colonial Drive. Shout out to OC2 who's on the road today doing a comic show. And don't forget, we love Kablam. If you want your comics printed, I got to get to the banner. If you want your comics printed, go to Kablam and tell them we sent you. And until next time, remember to make mine Silverline. All right. Good night, everybody.
Hi, I'm Greg Horn. Make mine Silverline.